Well, welcome to this overview video for the Jamestown Mall Market Analysis and Feasibility Study. My name's Stephen Ivendall. I'm the project manager for the study. I'm joined by Bob Lewis with the St. Louis University Community Planning Lab, who's been leading the market analysis and research for our project. This is our third overview video for the process. Hopefully, you've had a chance to look at our other two videos. These videos are meant to supplement our report and data on the website. But this is a very kind of a low-tech, informal discussion. So hopefully it's useful in terms of providing some context and background to the information. This has been a very an important phase as we roll out our final report. And if you found this video, you've probably been to our plan website, imaginejamestownmall.com. That has acted as the hub of communications all through the planning process. We've had a great awareness of the website with over 4,600 visitors to date and over 500 signups from the website for e-blasts and communications through the planning process. The website is also the home of the final report. So I would encourage you, if you haven't already, please download or view online the final report. This overview video is meant to provide some context and some nuance of the final report. But again, the final report has all the detailed information leading really through the entire process, through the final recommendations for the land use. If you've enjoyed this video of Bob and I kind of going over the process and recommendations, there's also two other videos earlier on in the process, one from April and an overview of the initial land use scenarios, and then one from August as we moved into the analysis of the final three land use scenarios, and both of those are on the website under documents. And if you watching this later on in January or even early February, you may notice some changes to the website as we transition from our consulting team work and transitioning some of the communications back to the Port Authority and to the St. Louis Economic Partnership. So besides Bob and I, we've had a great planning team involved in this work, and we've also worked with a really great advisory committee all through this process. The advisory committee has been made up of residents and institutions in North County, and more information about the planning team and bios of the advisory committee members are on the website. So our schedule and our process, we're here at the end of the process. The report that's available on the website outlines the final land use recommendations. But the graph you see on your screen now shows the process today that we started earlier in 2022. Started with 6 initial land use scenarios. We had our first public forum back in June, narrowed down to then 3 final scenarios for final analysis, and then our second public forum in September. So this video kind of focuses on the work since September in terms of the information that was presented at the public forum, the selection of the final land use recommendations, and then next steps moving forward. So an overview of engagement, I don't think it's too much of an understatement to say that in many ways, for the first time in over a decade, there's strong community support for the direction and the future of the Jamestown Mall site, and we'll show here the results of the community feedback this fall. So starting with the public forum in September, we had it at the St. Louis Zoo Wildcare Park. Very thankful for them hosting both public forums during this process. A great crowd, over 200 attendees, and then folks could also comment online through the website if they couldn't attend the open house through October 12th. We also had a series of small group discussions in early October for attendees of the public forum who wanted to talk with the planning team in more detail. They had questions or comments that they wanted to share in a smaller group setting, sometimes in a larger public forum. it's hard to have sometimes detailed questions or discussions in that larger setting. So we had a series of small group discussions at the Blackjack Fire Protection District in early October, and some really good discussions from those meetings. So if you came to the open house, or you've been following in the process, the next few slides won't be new information. So at the open house, at the public forum in September, we had shown 3 final land use scenarios that we were evaluating, and then also getting community feedback. The first 2 scenarios were residential based. The first one, Jamestown Green Estates, focused primarily on a single family, villa residential with some commercial at along Lindbergh. For each of the scenarios, we presented some key stats, talked about the benefits and challenges of each one. And then we also showed a concept sketch of what these could look like, especially the front door along Lindbergh Boulevard. Scenario 2 was Jamestown, a village, again, residential focused, a little bit higher density, also a little bit more of a focus on senior housing, and a little bit more commercial along Lindbergh. And then scenario 3, agriculture and energy technologies annex, really an expansion space for the growing ag tech sector in the St. Louis region. Perhaps in the short term, being more of a focus on test plots, lower cost greenhouses, but then over time, other complementary ag tech, ag food related uses on the site. So we asked attendees in terms of then feedback on the 3 different scenarios, and you see this map here in terms of a location of where folks live, in terms of who responded back to the comment form. Pretty good distribution in terms of throughout North County. And if you took the survey yourself, you remember several questions that we asked, several open-ended questions. One of the key measurement questions we asked was rating the 3 land use scenarios in terms of favorability. So you see the greens are very favorable or favorable, the red and the pink unfavorable or very unfavorable. So all 3 scenarios received pretty substantial levels of favorability. Although you see scenario 3, the ag and energy tech annex, receiving higher levels of favorability, especially 4 in terms of being very favorable in terms of responses to the survey. We also looked at in terms of then residents who lived closest to the Jamestown Mall site. So folks who lived within a 1-mile radius, or folks who lived adjacent to the site. Scenario 3 became, as you can see there here on the screen, much more favorable for those folks who lived closer to the site. So we used the feedback from the public forum in September and the survey, also along then with kind of a final look at the market analysis, then outline then a preferred land use and an alternative land use, and these are outlined in detail in the report on the website. And going back to the original goals of the study, we've been very transparent through this whole process in terms of the goals, was that the end results may be 1 preferred land use, but could also be 2 or 3 land uses that reflect community feedback. So the report outlines really kind of 2 aspects. 1, a recommended a land use scenario, and then also an alternative consideration. So the recommended land use is the scenario 3, agricultural and energy technologies annex. The final report uses the term ag food technology campus. I think both of those are in many ways working titles, and we'll talk a little bit more in detail about that recommended land use. I'll talk briefly about the alternative consideration. The alternative consideration combined aspects of scenario 1 and 2. Scenario 1 and 2 both received substantial levels of favorability. There was some concern amongst the community about especially kind of the single family housing converting to rental properties. over time. So there was a concern there. However, the residential scenarios also would provide some opportunities for mixed use retail commercial space that many in the community express the desire to have. But then there's also been a kind of concern from a market perspective in terms of rising mortgage rates this past year, rising housing construction costs, could dampen the marketability of new residential in North County. So the alternative consideration for the site focused on senior residential, so 55 and over, with a kind of agri living focus. So agri living is kind of a agricultural focus. The report kind of provides some examples in more detail. So from a market perspective, it aligns with the growing senior population, not only regionally but especially in North County. And then from a community's perspective, more of an openness to, if there was residential, a focus on having that being senior focused, more openness to having senior residential as opposed to just general residential. So the alternative land use that the report talks about in many ways is kind of combines aspects of the original scenario 1 and 2. So again, the recommended land use the report outlines is the agricultural and energy technologies annex. I'm going to turn it over to Bob to talk about a few of the benefits and also some of the challenges with the Ag Food Technology Campus.
Pardon me. Yeah, thanks, Stephen. One of the great opportunities for the Jamestown Mall site is that it helps to fulfill and be part of what's been widely adopted here in the St. Louis area, recent Greater St. Louis Jobs Plan, focused on the year 2030 for an endpoint, but it'll certainly extend beyond that. Virtually all of the economic development agencies at any level here in the region, the metropolitan area, have bought into that plan, been part of it. So to be able to contribute that and to benefit North County, there's a specific emphasis in the jobs plan for minority and lesser advantaged workforce for training and for the jobs to be created. So this is consistent with that, a great opportunity for North County to be part of that. Opportunities for expansion of the space, also a great benefit. We've heard a lot from the industry, the ag tech, ag food sector, that places where a lot of that high-tech research is going on now here in this region have been for a long, long time, and certainly a big emphasis recently. Places like the Danforth Plant Science Center, 39 North, Cortex, and so forth, they're expensive for some of the research that needs to be done, in fact, quite a bit of it. So having less expensive land, less expensive test plots, greenhouses, fermentation facilities, and such that the growing companies need, the research companies, this is a terrific location for them. To hear them say it without having to move to, say, the middle part of Illinois or the middle part of Missouri. Plus, it leverages the existing agricultural land north of Lindbergh. Many of you may recall that the area immediately north of Jamestown Mall on the north side of Lindbergh there, 67, was rezoned back in the 1980s to prevent suburban development, subdivisions and so forth. It's highly subject to sinkholes, karst topography it's called. It's still unstable given its location, with the underground forces of the mighty river systems that we have. So much of that land has been prohibited now from denser development. That means a lot of it is remaining in forms of agriculture. So we can be linking to an economy that's having to emerge and remain in agriculture in North County. So location in that respect, plus the infrastructure that already exists nearby on Highway 367, north and south, 270 to the south, let alone Lindbergh, and it's access to a lot of places in St. Louis County. Now, challenges. we got some great input, supportive input, but things to work on from the stakeholder meeting that we held in late November, I guess, from the industry, the people who are in the research, ag tech research, food tech research industry. But there, it's an implementation that's not going to be an implementation process. It's not going to be like, let's just put it on the market and put out a request for proposals. It's going to require a bit more effort and coordination with, collaboration among the various economic development agencies in the region. They're all for it, but we need to give it a try to keep working on the best way to approach this, the best way to sell, quote unquote, sell it in not only the St. Louis market, but also in the as far as the international market. St. Louis is a major international player in the ag tech industry, ag tech research in particular. So making sure we're coordinated and attracting firms and users of the space is going to require a coordination, cooperation among a wide range of economic development and related groups as well. It also needs some patient money. That means perhaps the owners of the property now, Port Authority, maybe others that can come forward to put up the money to hold on to the property long enough to make sure this cooperation and other economic development efforts work. That's an important aspect of all of this to be sure it's the best thing possible for North County, for St. Louis County, and for this metropolitan area. And therefore, we need time to get the commitment of regional and national companies to pay attention here. They already are paying a lot of attention to St. Louis on this topic, on this industry. This is just another chance for us to expand the physical presence of the ag tech, food tech sector. Stephen?
Thanks, Bob. Just a few maps to kind of complement what Bob just talked through. This map shows the proximity of the Jamestown Mall site to 39 North, which is really the regional hub for the ag tech sector. You see the area kind of in the burnt orange amber color. Is about 25-minute drive time from 39 North to the Jamestown Mall site. You see Jamestown Mall is also in close proximity to Lambert Airport. Bob talked about the proximity of existing agriculture north of Lindbergh, and you see again this map shows some of that existing ag land north of Lindbergh, north of the Jamestown Mall site. And due to the karst preservation zoning in this area, these areas are expected to remain agricultural focused in the future because of that existing zoning. So the idea of having the Ag Food Technology Campus at the Jamestown Mall site could take advantage then of the synergies with the existing land, agricultural land north of Lindbergh. And then Bob had also touched on the alignment with the Greater St. Louis Jobs Plan. Ag tech is one of three next generation sectors for the St. Louis region identified in the Greater St. Louis Jobs Plan, along with FinTech and Geospatial. So the Ag Food Technology Campus at Jamestown Mall site is an opportunity for North County to align itself with ag tech and that regional priority, regional focus as part of the Greater St. Louis Jobs Plan. And the Jobs Plan then also talks about advancing racial equity and social justice. So by having this investment in North County, and the report shows some additional information and maps related to this topic. Again, it can align with the Jobs Plan through investment in North St. Louis County. So in conclusion, just a few words on terms of next steps. Again, the final report was released in December on the website. So if you haven't had a chance, please view that and download that. Bob has a few words in terms of kind of the exploration window component of the report.
As I said, we're suggesting that particularly pursuing the ag tech, food tech opportunity that it's going to take some time to get everybody coordinated, to get the right ducks in a row, if you will. So we're suggesting that as much as 2.5 years is maybe needed to coordinate all that and get the right people in talking off the right organizations, talking off the same page. So creation of an ag tech working group representing, well, the region, and that may include more than just the St. Louis metropolitan area, since we have a lot of strong ag tech research coming out of places like University of Illinois and University of Missouri. Why not? They may want to be involved. They already are. Those universities are involved with other regional efforts here in the, particularly in the GIS component. That's a big focus of the jobs plan. And during that time, develop a fuller, more detailed master plan for the site. The visuals you saw that Stephen showed earlier, concept maps, those are just concepts, how things might lay out. They aren't intended to be any kind of master plans for the site. And so that a period of time to say what can really happen, what really needs to be done, how much of each kind of use, where they ought to lay out, how to be juxtaposed and so forth. So developing a master plan during this time while getting organized during the exploration window, very, very important. Stephen?
Yeah, thanks, Bob. And just to kind of conclude, again, the report lays out several other recommendations in terms of next steps, as you see there on the screen. I won't go into detail on those, but again, encourage you to look at the report to get an understanding in terms of recommended next steps. And it's also important to note too, in terms of the report, the recommendations, all the report recommendations in terms of next steps moving forward, based on what we feel is commercially viable, but also reflecting community feedback. The recommendations have not, as the date of this recording, been adopted by the Port Authority or any other entity. So at this point, they're still just should be considered as recommendations as outlined in the report. So with that, again, thank you for your time for watching this video. We hope it's helpful to provide some context and background on the process less far. Again, we encourage you to download or view the report online. Also look for again updates down the road in terms of through the news or through the website in terms of next steps and progress as things move further. So again, thank you for your time for this video and for your involvement with the planning process this past year.